Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. My name is Dick Whitney. I'm curator of the Optical Heritage Museum and basically a lifelong resident of Southbridge. I'm also on the Jacob Edwards Library Board, and Margaret and I have teamed up many times on a lot of projects. But I think this project I'm extremely excited about because I think we're making history. It's not just looking back, but we are going to see tonight, courtesy of Alessandra Semele-Jacques and her family, have allowed the Optical Heritage Museum to digitize a never-before-seen movie, to the general public, that is. And I'm just thrilled. So what I'm going to do tonight is talk a little bit about that day. We're talking about JFK's visit to Southbridge, September 30th, 1958. When I was researching this, I was talking to the JFK Library, and they had it down as 1948, and they had a few errors, but they're more accurate as you get to the presidential section. But this was his senatorial campaign, and I think we'll learn a few more things. What I hope to do tonight is anyone here or on Margaret's arranged to also do Facebook Live, so anyone here that has questions or comments, I'd like to take whatever input we get tonight and maybe do something bigger in an oral history. So I will be giving my contact information, and I'll be telling you a little more about the museum, which, by the way, is expanding. It's in 12 Crane Street, the Optical Heritage Museum, and we're digitizing negatives, we're digitizing films like this. AO News we're doing a lot of stuff that you will see, and I see a couple volunteers like Art Salsi and Jim, who are really the backbone of the museum. It's 12 Crane Street. I'll tell you more about that at the end. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about that day, then show the movie. It's about 2.5 minutes, but it's wonderful. I had it restored professionally by Mass Productions out of Tewksbury. I found that through Old Sturbridge Village work, and it's a professional restoration, and I'm really thrilled. But what I say is, then after I show the movie clip, certainly jump in if somebody has a recollection. We're honored to have Alessandra here, and she's the little girl with the bouquet that gives the bouquet to Jackie, which you'll see. And if she wants to recall, but if anyone here or afterwards, contact me, because I'm trying to get more about that day, more about what's not known. So that's the purpose of tonight, other than to showcase this great movie. So first of all, I think we all know this day because of this picture. And in Southbridge history, I think there are three things that define, for old-timers like me. It's the flood, this day. You know, other things more recently happened, like the hurricane, but this day in particular is important, and I think there was an excitement about this. This was pre-television campaigning. We've all gone through the dreaded campaigns on TV, but this was before the Nixon debates, and television really took hold. So he came and spoke, and he has a connection to AO even today, which I want to explain in the museum. There still is a connection, which I'd like to talk to you about. But let's talk about this day. Where did he go? It's at this location, right on the corner of Main and Central Street. And I think he was right in this area right there, September 30th, 1958. Now, in researching this, I found out he was going on a trip that day, leaving Springfield and only spending about a half an hour at each place. I don't know whether he spent more, but look at this: Springfield, Palmer, Ware, Spencer, Southbridge, and then there's lunch. So I'm wondering maybe he had an extended lunch here. I don't know if anyone knows that, or for Alessandra. But anyway, it was quick. So look. And I've heard that Jackie came back and other, but something about this day, that picture is really in the minds of many old timers like me. Then he leaves, goes to Webster and Uxbridge. One of the things he was talking about, and he at least talked about in Ware, was the minimum wage should be $1.25 an hour. So that's when, but again, he was campaigning and with Jackie, who turned out to be, he said, one of his key things in his arsenal of campaigning, because she was a great help. Although I believe she just had a miscarriage and really didn't walk around much, but you know, Alessandra, you met her. I want to show, a few years ago, Mike Elflin at the Telegram and Gazette did an article, and there's some interesting stuff that he wrote that, rather than me paraphrase, he interviewed me a few years ago when I was doing something on November 22nd. Well, this being November, you kind of think about JFK, but the future president captured 73% of the votes. He really trounced 1,362,000 to 488. And in Southbridge, he got 6,400 compared to 1,000. So, you know, Southbridge really came through for JFK. So there was that. You know, in the photo, he's just kind of describing what you all see, but Billis Diner is there, the Macy building, which since burned. And actually there was a death in that fire, but that happened in 1971. The Hartwell building behind him is where AO started. That was the Beecher Jeweler building, or the location. And on the second floor in 1833, they started making spectacles. So AO started right where he's talking. Whoops. So here are a couple of pictures that I was given a few years ago. We've been talking about this project for a number of years, so I'm really thrilled that it's happening. But there's Alessandra, JFK and Dominic Santos, perhaps? Okay, so I believe that's what it was. Okay, very good. Now that's one where she's got her eyes closed, but you're going to see more color versions shortly. So some of you may know I have an old website that I haven't updated in a long time, but probably 10 or 15 years ago I heard from Susan Gascon Taylor. And she said, I just stumbled upon the wonderful Southbridge website. It's a delight. The big surprise was to see me in the picture. So she's, I believe in her description, she's this woman right there. So she goes on to say, I was at the northeast corner of Main and Central. One of the girls thought it might be Senator Kennedy. We crossed the street to see him and Jackie. She was all in light blue, wearing a cloth coat and small blue pillbox hat, looking tired and bored. He looked terribly young and very, very thin, almost sickly. We stood there a moment listening to him, and we had to hurry back to high school. So, you know, there's more about that, but that's that. The microphone was Larry McDonald's. That's cool.
And he's standing on Larry's truck.
Oh, is he? I didn't know what he was standing. So he's standing on Larry McDonald's truck.
Then they drove to Palmer, and when they left Palmer, Larry's fan belt broke. And Kennedy had words with Larry.
Kennedy Sr. Joe.
They weren't nice. And Larry told me this story. But the state troopers somehow brought a fan belt in 5 minutes.
Wow.
They got to Springfield, and Kennedy bought Larry a steak dinner.
So I would like to capture things like that on audio later. So anybody that has those stories, because I envision doing a bigger production. But anyway, let me continue this, Jackie. But look at downtown, you know, and there's just something about that. This is the quality of the digitized movie. It's quick, but then we're going to go through screenshot after screenshot, and then I'll show it again if you want. But never before seen, so I'm excited. I'm saying copyright, but again, the Optical Heritage Museum now is doing so many projects that are relevant today and digitizing so many 20,000 images that we have of AO's stuff. So we're doing research now, so it's relevant. But anyway, let's go to the movie. So, I mean, there's no sound. Alessandra, that's your sister? There's Jackie.
My sister Marianne, my sister Penny.
There's JFK, obviously, in front of the Hartwell building. There's Jackie. Who's that? Do you know? Have you said? We'll go back. Sorry, because there's a crowd of people there, and maybe we can identify some people.
No, I didn't mention my father.
There she is. There's the star of the show.
He's filming. He's filming. Your
Oh,
dad's
my
filming?
dad- No, actually, if my dad's in the picture,
Oh, okay.
my mother must have had the movie
Mother's
camera.
a cinematographer, wow.
Well,
Gotta get her
she's
name on the screen.
not quite as good as my dad, but my
But
dad
she
had
did it.
the.
Look at that. See that?
the-
See that?
Oh, my God.
dad had the slide.
Look at a banner.
So,
Oh, my-
some of the screenshots that I
That's
would
my
have.
grandmother.
That's your grandmother?
Yellow coat with the beige coat.
Now, there's the Y building behind them, see? But that's the other direction. We always see one direction.
Right.
Yeah, she looks bored there.
Look
Well, she's
at-
not
look
bored.
at- oh
They
my
really had to convince her to get out of the car.
Okay, did you hear that? They had to convince her to get out of the car. She was sick, though, right? There's the Strand. There's another beautiful shot. Look at that.
It's like the Zapruder film.
I know. The
There's
Strand.
my father in back of Don.
Boris Rassicot.
Oh, yeah.
Look at you.
Look at me. Haven't changed a bit.
That's grandmother was there, was holding with you.
That's a good shot with it.
Oh,
Two.
look, oh, there was Benoit. That
Yeah,
was,
with the hat.
that was the postmaster Benoit. That's,
Oh, was it?
that's,
That is Doris.
Maureen Doyle's?
that
Yeah.
Maureen's Doyle, yeah.
Now, see, I don't see Jackie with a
He was
hat
the
on.
big deal. Look at him, look at him. That's him with the hat on.
Yeah.
And,
There she is with JFK. Isn't that cool? Who's that right there? Is that one of the...
That's her
That's
father.
my father.
That's your father? I kept thinking that was one of the staff that was...
No, that's my father,
Oh,
Guido.
and there's Jackie.
Jackie must have been talking to my grandmother. And there's my dad.
That's your dad.
On the left.
oh.
I had him as
my dad.
Hey, that's your dad.
Holy cow. Tommy, that's your father.
I don't even remember him that young.
Who's that? Oh, God.
Must have been Dom's wife.
Yeah.
That is just amazing.
Yeah.
One thing before we continue. Now, I've got screenshots. Alessandra, we've got screenshots, and I'll go through, but do you mind, or I'll repeat what you told me about your mother's telling Jackie about the camera? Can you?
Oh, Jackie telling my mother.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jackie said what a great camera that is.
Oh, yes. She's there.
And she said, I'll have to have Jack buy it for me. Yeah.
Oh, I only wish that Jack would buy me a camera like that. This was the secondhand camera that my father bought at the, what was it, the Southbridge photo shop?
Oh, yeah. He bought it there? Wow.
Is it 16 mil?
Yes. It's 16 mil.
It must have been a Bolex. Must have been a
It
Bolex.
is both. I'm pretty sure I can, yes.
Still have it.
Anyway, so let's continue going through.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We do.
Yeah, I'm not.
No. If there are any, before I continue, if there are any recollections right now, but then I want to go screenshot upon screenshot because then you can study it. That's.
But I did want to further explain.
Go ahead, please.
Jackie was, I don't think she was bored. I think she had just gotten out of the hospital. She was weak, and she had to be convinced
To even get out of the car?
No, yes, to get out of the car, but even to go on the campaign trail with
Oh.
him. So she wasn't feeling well, and my mother was told that's why my mother went to the car. And that was my grandmother with the tan coat. She went to the car too, because Jackie sat in the car for most of the speech.
She did.
She just came out.
Did she come out so you gave her the flowers at that point?
Well, no, when she got out of the car, then she went over to where Jack was giving his speech, and I was able to present her with the flowers. But I don't know if they said, well, we've got these flowers for you, and this little girl is waiting, and but she did get out. She was very gracious. And my mother she said, I know, I just feel it, he is going to be president someday.
Really?
Jackie said,
What did Jackie say?
that's never going to happen.
She said that?
Those were the exact words, but she had, it just seemed to me that she had no
No aspirations?
aspirations, that's a good word.
Yeah. So I don't know if you all can hear, but that's fascinating, and I hope we're picking that all up, because that can be part of a larger recollection. Anyone listening in or on cable later, you'll have my contact information later, so please get back to me. So let's now look at the screenshots. That's an obvious one, but you know, Edwards building when it was white, painted white at one point, you know, and that's the oldest department store in the United States, I understand. Again, there's another picture of Jackie, but I just love the background too, seeing her there. But any comments as I'm going along? But there's just a crowd, but I thought, I don't know if you can see anyone in the crowd.
Jackie to Lewis's dress shop. She would have liked Lewis's dress.
Yeah.
That's
You
where she-
remember that?
That's where she, well, I like Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're wearing pants.
And then the Kennedy signs. I mean, again, this was a different time. Really, television was burgeoning, but I think campaigning was totally different than we've got now. But I think it was face-to-face. This was important. He did subsequent visits, I believe, to AO, but something about this visit.
It helped them so much that they never forgot.
I think that's what it was. I think he got a lift.
Anytime we needed something or had to ask the Kennedys for something, just yes.
Yeah. And he did have an AO connection, which I'll tell you more about after, but we're just saying how important Southbridge was to his campaign. Again, I don't know. I'm wondering if the guy with the camera on the left is the guy that took that picture. I don't know who took the picture. I mean, one of the most famous pictures we have of our history. I don't know who took it. I think it was in the telegram, but I'm not even, you know. That I got permission to reproduce from JFK Library, but yeah, a number of years ago. So anyway, I'm just wondering if maybe he's the photographer. If he's not that photographer, what's that?
Well, it was used by Chris Matthews when he had a Sunday program.
Was it?
Image was one of maybe 25 images that flashed on the screen at the beginning
When he wrote a
of
book,
every one of his programs.
he wrote a book about JFK's early years.
Chris Matthews,
He
yeah.
did one about Bob. He did one about JFK early years, and he did one about Bobby. I met Chris Matthews 5 years ago, and I said, "How did you get that picture?" And he said, "I didn't even know they used it. It's a green screen."
Oh, green screen, but
He didn't know. He was aware of the picture, but he had no idea how it got on the show.
now there's a good picture aside from Alessandra. Does anybody recognize anybody in the crowd?
Far right corner, the gentleman with the high receding hairline. He looks a little bit like Joe Marino was when he was a younger man.
You mean him?
Yep. Not too.
Does that look like? I don't know.
No, 1958. He put two up. No, I think that's him.
Well, wait a minute. What? Edgar McCann. Isn't that Edgar McCann? Isn't that him?
It sure looks like him.
It is.
So who else might we recognize? So,
Who's that kid? Who's the kid?
well, there's a flash bulb, so there's another camera. So we know there are at least two cameras, but I don't know. And that's a good shot of you with Jackie. I don't know who anybody recognize anybody else in the picture. No, that's just a totally different view than what we're used to. They took it from somebody in the crowd. So somebody, I don't know, there's a photographer on the other end, I guess. But this was the movie, so your mother was standing there. And that's another picture. So did she say anything specifically, thank you?
Oh, she said thank you, yes.
But that's,
And they both sent me thank you notes.
oh, they did? Do you still have them?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's very good. Oh, the Strand Theater.
Hey, look at
Is
this. Like
my
one of the best
grandmother?
pictures.
Yeah.
I know. You cannot find a picture of the Strand.
We got a color picture. What's playing? Can you see what's playing?
Teresa.
I'll have to see if I can zoom in on it. I don't know.
1950.
Now, there's a story of the Gulf Station during the flood, I understand.
Yes. And that's
They got it running, even though there was no electricity, they got a motor running to to pump the gas, but once they did that, there was no place to drive because all the bridges were up.
Not the bow tie.
And by the way, I have a restored flood video
Yeah, yeah.
of Alessandra's that at some point we'll have to do something with, because it shows the water rushing that I've never seen. Shows, yeah, I've got it digitized too.
And what was his full name?
Yeah, she just looks,
Stephen Simmons.
if not bored, she looks preoccupied, but that's just a quick image, so, you know. But, is that him standing right there?
Yes.
So he's talking and she's right by his side?
Oh, yeah, look at that, those his legs.
That's his leg, I never realized that.
It's a shame that building isn't there anymore. That was the YMCA. For those that are old like me, the YMCA was quite a building.
And it was our home, we lived in that, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't a building.
And there's a story of Jump Jerry Jump in the 1880s, and somebody was, no, when it was first built, to jump, and he chickened out at the very end, so I wouldn't jump. That's a good shot.
That's Pompano.
Yeah.
That's Paul Benoit, which one?
First guy with the hat.
Oh, so that's Maureen's
Grandfather,
grandfather?
maternal grandfather.
And he was postmaster, and I think he might have been
Paul Benoit,
state
He
senator.
was a
state senator and postmaster in Southbridge with a
Then he got
hat.
the appointment of postmaster.
What's that?
Then he got the appointment of postmaster.
Oh, really?
So he
Okay.
ran the post office for about 20 years, after the state senator. What a great guy, he was the
Wonder what they're talking about, other than, did this car break down before this or after?
We're in the left.
Oh, yeah, after,
After this?
on the way to Springfield, and they were gonna, if they were late,
I'm pretty sure.
he said, well, how was he gonna know the fan belt wasn't gonna break, you know? So then he realized that he was sorry, so he bought a mistake. He bought everybody who got the truck there a steak. It was nice.
There's another. Is the paint store where they had the bird that was the parrot that would talk? Well, was that, oh, Florsheim, that's right. I remember being impressed, but it was right there. Right.
Yeah, but yeah, on the right side of the picture.
Oh, I might have duplicated a couple of these, but
And Jim, that's
That's my hat, that's my car.
Tom, your folder?
Yeah.
In back of my.
where?
My father is in the front.
Right here, is on this picture?
Guido Simonelli and what was Tom, what's your guy's name? Jim Lapriori.
Where?
In the back, with the glasses.
Yeah?
You mean in the middle of the picture? That's your father? Did he talk at all about this? That's Tom Lapriori's.
No, I was shot at
Oh, so that's the first you know of it? See, well, that's great, because now Tom Lapriori's father, so we're piecing this together.
I had no idea.
But that's cool. That's,
See, she's happier there.
yeah. She said, God, I'm done with this Southbridge group.
Oh, that's my grandmother talking to her.
Oh, is it?
Yes, because if you notice, my grandmother had that beige coat on.
Yeah. Oh, so that's your grandmother, right there?
No.
Oh, the beige coat.
Yes.
Was she in one of those slides?
She'll be in again another.
She'll be in again, I think.
All right, I can show that again, but let me kind of wrap up the Southbridge AO connection and the museum and why this is important. But people don't know, but AO still exists. And the one AO that still exists promotes Southbridge all the time. He's on the board. The owner of this is Scott Shapiro, AO Eyewear. And I just picked up, by the way, because of the museum, we had a big optical convention in Southbridge, as we have for the last 12 years, last weekend. And one of the displays, because they had vendor displays, was Europa. Well, they market the sunglasses, but if you look at their book that I picked up, what's right in their advertising of the book? Southbridge. You know, and the history of Southbridge is well known globally now because of the museum too. I'm extremely excited. We're expanding. So the Optical Heritage Museum, again, has a board. We are funded primarily by my company Zeiss, but we are a nonprofit, separate entity, and we're doing a lot of restoration digitizing. So that's AO Eyewear is out of Chicago. This man is great. He bought Alan McKinley's business that used to be in Southbridge. But this is the last true AO. Zeiss also has say in use of the AO insignia, but basically he's a great business. And what did he do? He just restored and is now selling. Go got AO Eyewear. Art's very familiar with. He redid the Saratoga frame that was so famous, and it's been reissued. And that's kind of why they're selling things here. You know, also later I have things retrofit in the JFK sunglasses, but you'll see in the, if you walk in downstairs, there's a cutout of JFK. He's wearing AO sunglasses. Now, a sad connection, but a very important one is, I don't know if any of you remember the glass executive bifocal, but the cement building across the pond was the location between 1952 and 2005 where they made the glass executive bifocal. Why am I telling you this? It was our longest running production, but the most interesting thing is I was given this letter about 8 years ago, and it's an internal memo of AO's, and it says Jack Kennedy was buying 3 pair of the glass executive bifocal. We got the order the day he was shot. So it's like, wow. Before that, it was like, hey, 1963. Before that, his kids love AO sunglasses. So Carolyn and John, 2 patients of them, and they love the glasses. I mean, we were promoting. So we have this, but Jack was because, you know, it's a Massachusetts business. But Southbridge came through with him. And there's still that connection. So this, when we talk globally, which we do about the museum, this is one of the interesting facts that comes through. Now, I had to look at this because somebody keeps asking me, what the heck, why does it say Route 93? I don't know, anybody, I looked it up a little. Route 93 is that route that opened in 1957, the year before, and it goes all the way down through New Hampshire to Boston. Well, I was almost saying, well, aha, that's it. But the Mass Pike also opened in 1957. So why didn't they say the Pike? I don't know. But that's why. So Route 93 and 20 is obvious, but Route 93 is 60 miles away. All right, I want to point out another thing the museum has done, which I'd love to do more of. So this is kind of an aside, but if anyone's interested in sponsoring a window, I could give you an image, to fill some of the other vacant buildings. That's my passion. But there's, on Central Street, Gabe McCarthy's building, but first of all, Tom Lapriori's painting is there, and I reproduced that. This is all courtesy of the Optical Heritage Museum. Then a 1925 image of before the Rotary, and then JFK. I'd like to fill more windows. So that's another thing. But this is sponsored by the Optical Heritage Museum. So again, we're trying to promote local history. So the optical, one thing please, if you're at all interested in history, go to our website, opticalheritagemuseum.com. You can sign up for newsletters. Eventually, we're not going to ask you for money yet, but just sign up and be a friend and supporter of the museum, because this, by the way, the Optical Heritage Museum website is done out of Australia. All the marketing, I have a great team that I work with, but Darius and Karen Roberts, who's my boss, they work out of Australia, believe it or not, and it's done here, and they travel here. So I'm very impressed with the support I get from Zeiss and my board. So we have Facebook. I don't know, like us on Facebook. There is no admission at this point. We'll see at some point, but right now, but membership drives will probably happen in the near future. But what can we give you? And maybe we can give you, for a membership, images and other things that we're doing. The AO News that we're digitizing, you can now type in, or I can, type in names and it'll search all the AO Newses. So that's the kind of projects, thanks to Zeiss and the Optical Heritage Museum, we're doing. So if we want, I can go back and play that video one more time. I think it goes so quickly. But please, Facebook people as well, my cell phone is on the website, but it's 774-230-8016. We're at 12 Crane Street, and just please come support the museum. I have brochures for the museum, and there's an AO history that Diane Maddock, who's on our board, she wrote, and it's quite thorough. And I got to also thank Art, because Art Salsi just comes and does work all the time, all the handiwork that's needed at the museum. So I'll show one more time. Feel free to say whatever you want, and if you want to see something afterwards, let me know. Again, no sound. It's kind of weird, but I think the colors and the look at the downtown. So that's Larry McDonald's microphone. That's something I didn't know.
Geez, that might have been him. He's got to be there somewhere, you know?
I would think so.
Butch could probably spot him.
Cute little girl.
Do you know him?
Yeah, do you know her?
Do you know him, Ron?
No.
No. 10 years later.
Can't even read my lips.
That is great.
That's my grandmother.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your grandmother?
Yes,
The beige coat, yeah.
in the tan coat. So my mother doesn't get to be in any of the pictures.
She was videoing, yeah,
Yes,
or
so she
filming.
gets to be in the slide pictures.
You're gonna have to.
Do you have the slide picture? You're looking.
I'm looking.
That's your next assignment.
Who's that?
Pharmacy on the corner, Strand. The Y building.
It doesn't look like Al Andrew.
I'm sure the Ninjans were there.
I think he put down the credit card. What were they saying, Sam?
Oh, yes, I remember. Does it look, I'm looking another way.
That's a good shot, right? I didn't screenshot that one.
And that's Doris Russical there with the
Yes.
blue.
That's
That's
her.
her right there.
Yeah.
Who's the woman with the blue badge?
This is Rassico, you're right. Yeah.
Doris Russical.
Who, right there?
No.
No, the one with the blue badge and the blonde hair.
Yes.
What was the condition, the original condition of the film? That they
Well, she had a 16 millimeter, right?
Right.
We had it restored once, and it was good, but I was mulling, what do I do with this? And I didn't want to do anything without your permission.
One of the times I did send it, I sent it to one of those iMemories, and what came back, it was, you can bear, they didn't, either I'm not adjusting my TV correctly, or they didn't adjust the,
Well, I got to shout out, there's a guy called Mass Productions in Tewksbury, and I was connected because I gave a film about Julie Andrews at the Village, and that's been restored. And then I have a film about Jaws being filmed, and that's going to be used in a TV program maybe. So he restored 2 other films, and I was blown away. So I said, I got to get, so it's been back and forth. I mean, I was trying to figure out, what do we do with this? And this is what we're doing with it. But what I would like to do more of is add to this and make a bigger production. I talked to the Kennedy Library like 5 years ago. I have a possible film, and they didn't really seem interested. I don't know. Now, this is pre-Kennedy presidential Kennedy.
When they see, he did a great job, and they're gonna be interested. They didn't realize what it was, but if they saw.
Yeah, I think it's who I was talking to, but I would love to get some, forget this, but Southbridge needs more positive news, like bring a Boston channel in and talk about things that are happening in a positive way. but maybe we could connect, I don't know.
A copy belongs in the museum.
Yeah, I will, and that's why I talked to the guy who did the restoration. I've got high-res video. There are 2 formats that he gave me. One of them I couldn't play properly, but this one is, so there's an even higher res.
There are 2 more comments. Barbara Day says, thanks Dick, your enthusiasm for Southbridge is admirable. And Amanda Audrey said Chronicle. I believe she was following up.
Yes. Anybody have a connection to Chronicle or, you know, I tried before, but I'll try again. It'll happen. You know, it's got to be the right time. What I'd like to do is maybe get just a little more between Southbridge Cable, thank you for covering this, and I will edit some more of this, I hope, to at least make it more of a presentation, but I still, if there's anybody else out there, call me, you got my number, and let's talk about it. I could record you if you're in California, whatever. It would be good to add recollections, and then we can do more of that, and Paul or whoever, just see me and we can record that and maybe add more to it. So that's my intent.
Once Kennedy became president, and my family's from Southbridge, Talbots. My uncle's Ken Talbot.
Oh, yes.
My other uncle is Paul Quatto.
I have a whole collection of his in the museum now.
I was told growing up too that some of the, around that time, and I'm not sure if it was exactly in the 50s, but some of the government would be flying into the airport and using the AO facility at times.
Well, yeah, what you don't know, if maybe...
In the late 50s timeframe, that had to be the FG-58 frame.
Yeah, but also remember, fiber optics and lasers both got their start in Southbridge. The CIA hired Will Hicks, some of you know Will Hicks, to come to Southbridge to start fiber optics. So we are the birthplace of fiber optics. Elias Schnitzer invented the fiber optic amplifier, which is how you're talking on your cell phones today, invented in Southbridge. So, you know, it riles me a little, but the bottom line is I don't know why they were coming. We have the airport because of the Wells family, and
I just didn't know if there was more after.
there was a lot of work.
Promoting some of the AO sunware and all that. Did they
I-
actually link up with some of them, maybe, you know, for the government?
Yes, well, yeah. I'm sorry, now I see what you're saying. We took the contract, and Art knows all about the FG-58 sunglass, which is what's still being made by Europa now. They're still making it today. But it was a government issue, government contract, government specifications, correct, Art?
Yeah.
And so that was that.
Okay.
But I
It might
don't-
have had something to do with that, in and out at that time, flying into the airport.
I don't know, but Doc Tillier worked on the atomic bomb, so that's in the 40s, but the military connection to AO, I was involved in Desert Storm and gas mask development and stuff like that. So AO continued.
Okay, so probably working alongside.
I don't know what you're, but that's interesting. So
Couple of more comments. Sandy Billis Austin says, thank you for the wonderful presentation. And Kathy Earls Godzik says, happy that Southbridge has this little piece of history to treasure. Thanks to the Simonelli family, JEL, and Dick Whitney. The Kennedy mystique lives on.
Yeah.
Dick, there was another person that Southbridge helped quite a bit in its development was the Polaroid Corporation.
yeah,
Lang worked for Optical.
well, he came first to demonstrate to AO the board in the early 1930s the concept of Polaroid lenses. We developed Polaroid. There's a guy right now that's doing a thing in England, and he's asking me for Polaroid information, but there's a limit to what I have. But so it's funny, I kind of hear from around the world, but Polaroid goes way back. Yeah, we had a lot of work with them, and then we tried to develop our own. That was another thing. But
Well, my father-in-law moved his company from Oxford to Southbridge in 1952. Ed Land was still working as a contractor and/or, I think a contractor.
really,
I think he was an employee. And he would take walks up Knott Street during his lunch break, and he would stop in.
Ed Landwood?
Ed Land, yeah.
Wow.
And we ended up doing a A&M tool, ended up doing a tremendous amount of work for Polaroid. We helped them develop the SX70 instant camera.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any parts from that? Or-
No, they were very.
Okay, probably proprietary.
You know, so they, all the tooling we built for them, the minute we got it done,
They took 'em.
to Cambridge. Yeah.
Well, that's a, hey, I would like to do, and maybe we could talk to the library, some more oral histories, and it doesn't have to be about Kennedy. It can be about things like that. See, what it gets lost, and you keep saying, we'll do it, but I'm so glad I got the,
In town.
what's that?
Some of these buildings along Main Street that you're showing in there, I've had the privilege of being in some of them. There's like the theater there was in down here,
Yeah.
something I've never seen before. My generation, a theater where they actually acted out on stage and all these people. And,
Well, Steve Brady's chairing something where they're working on a walking tour of the architecture and
it's
the
really
sites around town.
something that people, you look at the buildings, you're never going to see them unless you're fortunate to get inside.
One thing, my mother, she died in 2011, but she was the storybook lady on WESO. WESO was located during the flood above Zoe's Pizza, the third floor. We went back there in maybe 2006, went upstairs, still the same. The studio was there.
Yeah, the wood,
It's still kind of depressing, but it was still there.
It's still soundproof.
Yeah, is it still there? I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of history.
so much in this town.
The first department store was Edwards. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Thank you so much, and thank Alessandra for allowing this to happen.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you.
And Diane Maddox said,
Oh, yeah. Oh, Diane Maddox on the board. Hi, Diane. She's an integral part of the museum, if I didn't say so already. She's the one that brought the opticians here for the last 12 years, so, in meetings, so, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And take a look at, there are a few things here.